welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti. My guest this evening is Brendan from River Valley Transit.
Good to see you, Pete. How are you?
Hey, buddy. How are you, man?
Long time no see.
Long time no see.
Good to be back on.
I think it's been about June of last year.
It's been a while.
It has been.
It's good to see you.
You too.
Absolutely.
Here comes the question.
Ssure.
What's
right
new?
Away. I always have a lot to say. No shortage of topics with me. We got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of my focus right now has been on the bus stops program. Okay. So we're currently trying to get a lot more bus stops in the system. I think for folks in the shoreline, they might see some bus stops around Boston Post Road, but they're kind of few and far between. And right now we operate what's called a flag stop system, which means that riders can technically flag the bus anywhere on the route.
Right.
So those bus stops are nice, helpful reminders, like good, safe places to wait. But by any means, people can wait anywhere they want along the route,
right,
as long as it's safe to do so. But we'll be adding a lot more stops, and a lot more stops around the area to make it more of a bus stop system. So at some point, we will be transitioning from a flag stop to a bus stop system. But yeah, we got a lot going on too. We've got a lot of extra mile pilots going on there. Could be coming to a close, which we'll talk about. Hopefully not, but we're talking about that. We've got new bus shelters coming installed, so lots of stuff going on.
Well, where do you want to start?
Sure, we can start.
Pick one.
Yeah, we can start with. I think one thing that's kind of very relevant in terms of what's happening right now, like a current event, if you will, in the transit world, at least for us, is the potential ending of some of our microtransit pilots.
Okay.
So unfortunately, it sort of was always part of the plan, but when we applied for new funding for microtransit zones, and I should mention these are in Middletown, East Hampton, and Madison Guilford. Okay. So those three zones were part of this pilot project where the state 2 years ago set out some money that districts could apply for to have these new on-demand zones. Okay. And so we applied for them. We were lucky enough to get all three. So we applied for three, we got all three, which was great. And they've been running for almost 2 years now. So come June 2026, that will come to a close. That we only had 2 years of funding. So if we don't get funded, it'll just probably end there. Okay. Or it'll be severely reduced or something else. So it'll be kind of coming to a close, which is a shame because they've been doing quite well. In fact, the ridership has been doing excellent, especially in Madison, Guilford, and Middletown. Okay. Middletown has some of the most explosive ridership we've seen in a lot. So as an example, right, so the software company we use, Via, they operate microtransit like this across the world. Okay. And they say that our zone in Middletown, the density and the rides per hour is comparable to downtown Manhattan. They say it's like an extremely, it's a very productive service. We've got 10, 11 rides per hour, which is very, very good for microtransit. Really? So yeah, it's pretty cool. It has a nice little accommodation. And Madison Guilford doesn't have quite those numbers, but it still does quite well. Right. And does really good numbers. And then even East Hampton, which was kind of the runt of the little for a little bit, it wasn't getting that much use, is now in the last couple of months has doubled in ridership. It's actually really starting to kind of come online. So it'd be a real shame if these pilots just kind of end in June, just when they're picking up steam and really doing well. And so luckily, there is some legislation in the legislature for the state that would allow the program to continue another year. So that's Senate Bill 9. Okay. It's currently in the Transportation Committee. Hopefully it'll be looked upon favorably and voted upon favorably in the General Assembly. But so we're just asking folks to support that. We did a big campaign for it. We got over 400 written testimonies online. So it was just flooded with a lot of positive testimony about how great these services are. So yeah, we're just hopeful that people will come out to support that, and hopefully we can continue it going forward. Because again, it'd be a shame to just end it in June because it's doing so well and many people are using it.
There is, and I don't know what the name of the group is. There is a Facebook group out there that you're involved with, where your picture is all over the place.
Is that right?
Where you're all over the place at different events.
Oh, that could be. Yeah, I think it's probably on our River Valley Transit Facebook. And we've recently gotten a new marketing team, consultant team for RVT, and they've been just blasting out content left and right. So they've been doing a great job about kind of helping increase our engagement. We've been doing these little videos, these little kind of behind the scenes videos. So one of them was for one of our supervisors, Dee Dee, and she's great. And her video had 17,000 views, which for us is really good. I mean, we're not like the MTA, we're not like a major transit district, so it was pretty cool. And so a lot of others are getting a couple thousand views, a couple hundred. So it's been very surprising how fast they've kind of helped bolster the viewership there, which is always good to just get more eyeballs in the district and get people seeing transit. So yeah, have you guys noticed that?
Huh?
I'm happy you guys were able
Yeah,
to notice that. That's
oh,
cool.
absolutely,
It's good to
yeah.
see that it's working, so that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So what else is going on?
Yeah, so we're hopeful those pilots will continue, and again, the ridership's been really great, so we hope that'll be a good thing. But again, kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier regarding bus stops, a little update there. So, with all these stops, we're going to be installing about 840 stops in total for our 17-town region. So, it's been taking up a lot of my time last couple of months
Wow.
getting these stops permitted and approved, and they're broken up by state stops and town roads, right? So, with the state road stops, like on Boston Post Road, for example, we're talking to DOT to get those approved, and then for all the other town road stops, we're talking to towns themselves. So I've been doing an island hopping campaign of going from town to town, talking to towns, and most towns have been great, honestly. Overall, the reception's been really good. I think the town leadership understands the need for transit, supports transit. So overall, it's been good, and we're pretty much gotten most of the towns that you talk to, or if we haven't gotten them finally approved, we're in a good process and we're getting there. So our hope is that by the spring, we'll start once the the snow's already melted. In the coming weeks, we should see some more signs be installed. We already had about 80 installed in Middletown and Cromwell. Okay. And you'll see, the 800, 700 plus more coming in slowly as the weeks go by here. So hopefully by the end of the summer is our goal that they'll all be in place, and then we can start looking towards the future of having a traditional more bus stop system where you have to go to the select bus stops and catch the bus.
Instead of the
flag stop. Right. And the flag stop sounds nice, and it is nice because you can catch the bus wherever you want.
Right.
However, the downside of that is you can catch the bus wherever you want. So safety.
Yeah.
So we have many examples, especially, we serve, Route 81. We serve many routes that are very rural, windy, 45-mile-an-hour roads that are fast.
Yes.
And we get plenty of folks who, again, I'm sure it's not out of malice, but it's plenty of folks who wait in some funky places and some places where, like a very sharp turn on a 45-mile-an-hour road and next to a guardrail. Not really a good place for us to stop. Right. But maybe there's a stop a couple hundred feet down the road that will actually be a good place to stop.
Right.
And one thing you'll see with these stops is not all of them are going to be in the most, in the best locations, but they're kind of what we call the best of the worst on some of these roads.
Right.
People are waiting in dangerous locations today, so we're trying to find the safest locations that will provide enough access. Because we also don't want too few stops where people have to walk miles to get the bus. We don't want that either. No. So we're trying to strike that balance of having enough bus stops where there's enough access, but not too many where it gets cumbersome and we're constantly stopping or there's problems. So we're trying to pick the best of the worst. And some places there's great places for stop. It just depends on what town you're in. Like down the shoreline for the 641, you got plenty of sidewalk, plenty of places to wait. You got some bus shelters. When we're up Route 81 going from Madison to Middletown, up Killingworth, less so, right? So it depends on where Middletown you're fine, or it kind of depends on where you are. But at the end of the day, we do have to make sure there's adequate access. So we're working hard on that to get those installed, and we'll hopefully be installed by the summer. That'd be great to see them all on the ground.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's been fun.
How's ridership been?
It's been really good, actually. We just crunched the numbers from 2024 to 2025. We saw about a 15% increase in fixed route ridership across the board. So that's none of our pilots. That's just like our services from naturally, which is great. That's a really nice 15%. It's like a lot. That's a lot. It's like we had 300,000 in 2024 fixed route ridership, but now we're like 350. So it's a nice big bump, and we're going to hopefully keep pushing that number up. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of reasons for that, but it's nice to see the numbers go up.
Yeah. And now the weather's getting warmer, so
weather's getting warmer, that helps. Sometimes February and January kind of it'll be a little lower, but usually when the spring comes around.
I'm glad all the snow is melted.
Yes. Yes.
I'm sure you are
we're
too.
very glad too, and we often get all complaints that like, the stop where wait isn't clear. Well, we unfortunately can't clear all 17 towns, so we don't have the manpower to do that. So it's more unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It's one of the problems of living in New England, but and living in a car-dominated area. But it's kind of we have to work with what we got. But there's a joke with Chris, right, area AD assessor. She helps. Yeah, so
of course.
There's always Chris,
ADA,
of course.
That's why
you might know Chris, but she's great. And one of the things we always joke about is, March time, everybody comes out looking for ADA. In January and February and December, we hear nothing. It's crickets. Yeah. And everybody wants to renew once the nice weather comes out, which I get. People want to get outside. People want to get connected again. So
exactly.
It makes sense. Yep.
Yeah, she actually a couple months ago renewed mine. I sent out the form, sent in the paperwork.
Yep. And if folks want to look at that too, they can go on our website for a plethora of information, right? For our fixed routes, for our dial, our extra, everything I talk about today is on our website. But If folks also want to apply for ADA, there's resources there on our website to do that as well.
I see. And I'm sure all the schedules are on the website.
All the schedules, we have interactive maps, we have trip planners. So if you just want to know, hey, I want to get to this grocery store, for example, or this medical center, you can type it in, and then the map will kind of tell you what routes to take, when to take it. So it'll help plan your trip for you. And there's other good resources for trip planning too I like to talk about, which is the Transit app, which is great. The Transit app is like a trip. It's kind of like Google Maps kind of thing, if people are familiar with that, but it specializes in transit. So what's nice about it is, again, you just type in where you want to go. It'll give you a list of all the routes you need to take. It'll give you different options. You can also buy tickets right in that app, so you can really purchase your pass right there.
Cool.
And it also has our Extra Mile, our on-demand services also linked in there, so it kind of gives you the full suite. So if your best choice is fixed route, it'll tell you that. If your best choice is Extra Mile, it'll tell you that. So it'll see where you want to go, and it'll determine what's the best choice for you, which is nice. Kind of helps saving the headache of the trip planning process. So,
would you mind sticking around for another segment?
I'd love to.
All right,
Sounds
we'll be
good.
right back.
As an academic medical center, it's our duty and our opportunity to work with new technologies.
We're always trying to think about what are the new ways we could apply this technology to better serve our patients.
We have formed unique collaborations with institutions such as Jackson Labs.
Doing genetic analysis of most tumors that we're removing currently, and this allows us to personalize the treatment to each individual.
We're seeing benefits in patients who otherwise would have had no hope.
One of the benefits of coming to UConn, where you have a whole group of people working with you. We all work together, really give complete care.
And you're also getting the newest ideas that are out there because you're an academic medical center. We stay on the cutting edge with technology.
The patient's always the number one priority.
And helping somebody feel better and then watching them perform better and live their best life.
One of the benefits of coming to UConn, where you have a whole group of people working with you. We all work together, really give complete care.
And you're also getting the newest ideas that are out there because you're an academic medical center. We stay on the cutting edge with technology.
The patient's always the number one priority.
And helping somebody feel better and then watching them perform better and live their best life.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti, sitting here with Brendan from River Valley Transit. Welcome back.
Good to see you again, Pete.
Good to see you
How
there,
are you?
my friend.
Absolutely.
Good. How are you?
Good. Doing well.
All right. So we talked about a little bit in the lap before the break, the Transit app.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the EcoLane app.
EcoLane app, sure. One thing I'll mention before we go to the EcoLane, I'll just mention with the Transit app, one cool feature is that the state of Connecticut and DOT is actually paid for all Connecticut users. If you live in Connecticut, you will be getting, you have Transit Royale free, which is basically their premium version. So basically, long story short, you don't have to do anything. When you download the Transit app, you'll be getting the premium version, and that's compliments of CTDOT. So they have like a contract with them. It's very, very affordable too, and it's a good way to give people the best trip planning experience. But to your point about EcoLane, that's our app for dial-a-ride, ADA paratransit, that kind of thing. And, it gets the job done, but it's a little dated. I think the service is a little dated. And
yes.
I know we're currently in the process of looking at potentially, we haven't finalized anything, but potentially looking at other vendors for those options, and hopefully we'll have a more modern app in the future. But it gets the job done, but we're looking towards maybe having an improved EcoLane app.
Speaking of improved and apps.
Sure.
I like the Extra Mile app too.
That's a good app.
That's
a good app. Via's a big. So Via's our software provider. They do the Extra Mile software, so they help with the algorithms and the apps and all that. Because we're not developers. Like I think I'm relatively computer savvy, but I'm not making any apps anytime soon.
Exactly.
So, and districts across not just the U.S. but the world actually use Via. They're kind of I'd say they're the biggest provider of microtransit software. But anyway. They're very, you've used their app before. Would you say it's a good experience? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very user friendly. It's got nice, it's nice, easy user interface, and also has the ability to show where the bus is in live time.
Yep.
So you can see on the map your little bus coming toward you. You get accurate estimated time arrivals. I know in the past we had an old app, Translock, and we had a lot more issues with that app. And I think it was definitely an upgrade going to VS, so that's good. Of course, at first the transition there's some issues, but then they have really done a good job. So I think that's one of the ones that could potentially be a replacement for the Eco Lane app, but nothing's been solidified yet. But it'd be nice to have some kind of more modern app for Eco
Yeah.
Lane and for the ADA. In fact, I was just in, believe it or not, the high school in Clinton.
You're at Morgan, okay.
I was at Morgan literally just today doing a presentation for some students about transportation, and one young lady came up to me was mentioning how she helps book rides for some students who need help with that, and she mentioned how she had a lot of trouble with the Dial Ride and the Eco Lane app. So hopefully a new app would hopefully improve those things, and I think it'll be a lot easier for folks to take advantage of those services that we haven't had to call in.
I like Extra Mile.
Yeah, I like Extra Mile too, and that's why I really want to make sure these zones continue because they've done so well. I should also just clarify too, when I say Extra Mile funding is in jeopardy, I don't mean the old Saybrook zone.
Right.
It's a separate pot of money. It's not a pilot. It's been around since 2018, 2019. That's not going anywhere per se. It's just the 3 zones in East Hampton, Middletown, and Madison Guilford that I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
But just so folks don't panic if they're using the old Saybrook zone, that should be safe for now. It's more just the pilot zones that, again, this isn't surprising. This was scheduled to end in 2 years.
Right.
But there was always the opportunity to potentially extend it upon additional years. And so there's been a bill, and I'll just shout out Senator Christine Cohen, who's been great.
Sure.
She's on the Transportation Chair Committee, and she's been doing a lot of great work to help us make sure this bill gets promoted and is a priority. And from what we've been told, it is a Senate priority, so we're hopeful that the bill to continue funding will pass.
Cool.
But it's a tight year, so you never know.
Yeah.
It's a tight budget year, lots of competing interests, but we're hopeful it'll pass.
And it's a short legislative session here.
Short legislative session.
Everybody's up for re-election
Again,
this year.
there's so many other important issues too. We're not the only one, right? So
Yeah,
there's
right.
tons of other things to talk about, but we hope it'll at least get up for a vote. And I think we're cautiously optimistic, but obviously you don't know until it's all
Exactly.
all over.
You don't know until it's all done.
all over. Exactly.
Until it's all done.
Yep. Exactly.
Now, with the weather getting warmer
Yep.
and Memorial Day around the corner,
Yep.
the Clinton trolley,
Summer services. Yeah.
summer services.
Sure, I can talk a little bit about that. So I know in years past, we used to have a lot more summer services. I think in 2024, 25, before then, we used to have a thing called Park Connect, which was a really cool state program.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you remember that. So it was a really cool program. We loved the idea of it. The idea of it was to get folks who typically can't get to, if you rely on transportation, public transportation, a lot of the routes don't always serve parks like forests or beaches, that kind of thing. So in the summer, the idea was, okay, well, let's develop routes that get folks from areas that don't have access to like a lot of great urban amenities to get them to beaches or forests or nice places to get fresh air.
Right.
And so we had a service from Middletown to Hammonasset,
Yes.
which was basically our 645 bus route from Madison to Middletown, but then it also continued on and pulled into Hammonasset. So it was a little different, a little variation of our route. That route, and then we also had at one time we had a Madison little like parking lot trolley. We had, and one of the mainstays we also had was the Clinton trolley.
Yes.
And so unfortunately in 2024-25, the funding was cut off for pretty much the entire purpose. Park Connect is pretty much gone,
Okay.
at least in its current form, which is unfortunate. However, we worked with the town of Clinton because the Clinton trolley was always our best performing one,
Oh, yeah?
And it happened even before Park Connect. So Clinton trolley was sort of one that we wanted to try and keep going. And so we met with the town of Clinton, Michelle Benevenu, who's a great town manager there, and everybody else, and we worked a way to have funding for this year. But we wanted to make sure that we really worked hard to advertise it because for the past couple of years we had seen less ridership, and so we were getting worried: is this thing kind of just dying out? But with the help of the town of Clinton and lots of other volunteers there, people helping from different groups, and ourselves, we were able to really help advertise this trolley. We put, if people might remember last summer, if you walk through Clinton, there's a bunch of signs with the trolley signs everywhere. And that really helped. We saw the best ridership we've ever had. So we've been doing it since 2019, and 2025 we had by far the best ridership. So before we were declining, and then all of a sudden we shot right back up. So I think that word of mouth, that marketing that team did, really helped bring back the ridership. And I know that we also recently got an update that Michelle has secured some funding for this year. I think it might not be the whole thing, but she started the process going. So I think we'll probably be able to continue it in some fashion this summer, which is great because that program was really kind of on the downturn, but it really rebounded last year. So we want to keep it going and see and continue to market it, continue to push it. And it's great when you see like kids and families on the trolley because they love it. It's kind of fun. It's a little more fun than a traditional bus.
Exactly.
Getting on the trolley, going to the beach, going to get food, and I know one thing we're trying to do is really get more involved with Hammonasset itself.
Okay.
Get with the staff, get flyers out to like there's a large camper population there. So
There is.
you're not always going to want to, just eat hot dogs over the fire. You might actually want to get out there and get some, get some ice cream, get some, go out into the town. So try to market to them that, hey, you don't have to, you can just hop on the trolley. You know what I mean?
Right.
And also, we're all adults. Sometimes people want to have a drink or two. Instead of having to drive, you can just take the trolley back. As long as you're not out too late, we'll come around and pick you up. And so it's a real thing, though. So
Right.
yeah, it's good.
Cool.
Yep.
I like it.
Yep.
And what else is going on with River Valley?
Yeah, it's a good question. So like I said, we had the new marketing team, which has been great. So they've been pumping out a lot of great social media content. So if you have the chance, if you haven't already, I'd recommend going to our Facebook.
Yep.
Subscribing there, get a lot of good updates if you're interested at all. And they've been doing these really cool videos. They've been doing really great social media posts, really good updates. And like I said, it has been really helping increase our online presence, which has been great. And we're just focused on the short legislative session, making sure that we're promoting bills that are positive for the transit district, and making sure that we continue as much funding as we can going on to this year. So we're trying to stay on top of things. And for me, a lot of that what I've been doing is doing the bus stop project, and I'll be. Once all the bus stops are installed, I'll be walking around to each stop, making sure it's in the right spot and checking it off. So I'll be getting my steps in this spring, which will be good. When the weather turns, it'll be nice, getting around and getting out of the office and
there you go.
Getting out in the field and talking to riders.
Go walk around.
So that kind of thing. Yep. Oh, one thing I will mention too is with the transitioning, once the stops are in the ground and we are looking at transitioning from that flag stop to a more traditional bus stop system. We'll be doing public meetings and stuff to make sure folks are on board with that. We'll talk them through kind of how it will go down. And then once that happens, so if and when we determine we will in fact go from flag to bus stop, once we get community feedback on that, we will then have a kind of a grace period. Of probably be at least 6 months to a year. It's pretty common. We did some case studies. We looked at some case studies, of other districts who went from flag to fixed route. And what's good practice is to give plenty of time for folks to get used to the bus stops, right? So what we'll do is we'll have all the stops to the ground, but it'll still be flag stop for a period, maybe 6 months to a year. And there'll eventually be kind of a turnover date where, okay, by December 1st, 2027, whatever it is, right, just as an example, then it'll just be stop based. And if you're not out of stop, you're not getting picked up.
Right.
What we don't want to do is install stops and then day one be, well, if you're not out of stop, you're not getting picked up, because that'll cause chaos. Because people have been doing this for years.
Of course.
Since the 80s, it's been a flag stop system. So we're not going to change it overnight. It'll take time to make sure we effectively communicate to all of our riders and the public that, okay, now we have a different system now. Same routes, potentially, or similar routes. It's just that now you actually have to be waiting at a bus stop. But the advantages of that are a couple. So we mentioned safety, as you mentioned, to make sure that we're waiting in safe locations, but it also helps on-time performance too.
Oh, really?
We sometimes have folks who will, again, there's no malice in this, but someone might be waiting on a street here, and then a couple hundred feet, someone might be waiting here, and then someone will be waiting a couple hundred feet there. When if you actually just put the stop,
It's
people can
like
actually just walk
stopping every 20
right,
feet.
So instead of just stop, bus traffic, people in cars don't like when the bus is constantly stopping.
Yeah.
So it also helps with, we also have a problem sometimes with drive-bys, pass-bys. So if someone is trying to wave the bus driver down, it's easy, the bus driver will stop and pick up. Sometimes folks will just wait on their phone and the bus will drive right by them.
Right.
And they miss it. Or someone will not actually signal to the bus driver, or the bus driver will miss it. And so it leads to lots of confusion and pass-bys, so that's a problem. But when you're waiting at a bus stop, the bus driver doesn't have to wonder, is that person waiting for the bus? Are they waving me down? Are they on their phone? If they see someone at the bus stop, they're stopping.
Right.
So it removes the whole question of, is this person trying to flag me down? You just know for a fact, if you see someone at a stop, you're stopping, which makes it a lot easier. So you get on-time performance. The biggest one's safety, and then you also have reducing pass-bys. Right. So that's good customer experience too, to have. Because the worst thing, if you're trying to catch a bus and it goes right by you, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Also, as a driver, it's frustrating too. If they didn't wave at you, then how did you know they could have just been anybody on the street waiting for an Uber or something else? So it kind of alleviates those tension points, and I think it'll be, we're kind of becoming a big boy system. Kind of growing up, and now that we're one combined district, it made sense to do more traditional bus stop. Cool. And the last thing is marketing, right? So when you have a bunch of signs everywhere, there's transit service here. If you're new to the area, especially in Middletown, before we had no bus stop signs, how do you know that you see the bus, but how do I use it?
Yeah, right.
When you think of a bus, you think of a bus stop. You think of, where's the bus stop? Well, So I think having these bus stops will also make it very clear there is transit service, you can use it, and you can, here's where you wait for it. So I think when you factor it all in, it really is a good, there'll be trade-offs, but I think when you factor it in, it is the right call to transition over. So.
One last topic.
Sure.
Because we got about a couple minutes left. But
sounds good.
Let's talk about form of payment.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good one. That's always a good one. So RVT has done a lot lately to expand different types of form of payment. So of course, we're always going to have cash. Cash is always king, right? Because not everybody has a credit card, not everybody has a debit card, and it's always good to make sure we accept cash. However, we also want to provide additional options. So there are multiple ways to pay now. So you can do cash, right? You can do tickets. You can go to either our Centerbrook office or our Middletown terminal and get tickets. But those are actually, both cash and tickets, we're seeing a decreasing amount of people using them because people are instead using a couple different options. They're using our tap to pay, which we installed a year or two ago, which are pretty cool. It's these, tap card devices, very similar to the ones you see at like any store. You go to Walmart or Starbucks and you tap your card to pay. Same technology. You just go up to it, tap your debit or credit card. It also accepts Apple Pay, Google Pay. So that's a great way to pay. And we also have Token Transit app as well. So that app is about 20-30% of our riders use that app. It's a massive portion of our ticket sales come from that app. Yeah. And that way you can attach a debit card and you can buy one ride passes, day passes, monthly passes on that. And we see the sale, people really like using the Token Transit app. So between all those different things, you have a lot of ways to pay. You've got tickets, you've got cash, you've got credit and debit card, Google Pay, Apple Pay, tap readers, and you have Token Transit. So we actually have the most ways to pay of any transit district in Connecticut. We're not the biggest, but we do have the most ways to pay. We're kind of the guinea pig for many of DOT's kind of initiatives to see how they work, and so far it's been working pretty well.
Cool. Brandon from River Valley, we're out of time. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, appreciate it. Always good to see you.
You too. On behalf of Brendan, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, Annette. We'll see you next time. The preceding program was brought to you in part by